Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. If you always watch our channel, you may know that the story about US ban on Chinese famous mobile phone enterprise Huawei. There are many mobile phone brands in the Chinese market, and many of them are local Chinese brands, which can also show the competitiveness of China's electronic technology field, and the people also have a benchmark in their hearts, and choose the most suitable one among the domestic mobile phones that are blooming in 100 flowers. Cell phone. In the minds of most Chinese consumers, Huawei mobile phones represent the performance and quality of domestic mobile phones, so even if Huawei is at a premium, it is often swept away. In the minds of domestic manufacturers, Huawei mobile phones are also benchmarks. Even if Huawei mobile phones are restricted for 3 years, sales are declining. Everyone still thinks this way. What is the reason? What difficulties does Huawei face? Since Huawei entered the market, it has gradually been recognized by everyone. Its sales performance is the best illustration, and it is constantly restricted by foreign countries. Originally, Huawei could become the first private enterprise with a revenue of over 1 trillion yuan. Due to constant restrictions and the impact of the economic environment, now Huawei's president can only be forced to declare that the future road is to live. Indeed, the road to Huawei being sanctioned is long and sad. Huawei has been restricted 4 times in just 3 years. In 2019, the export of Huawei EDA, Google's GMS, Qualcomm chips, etc. was restricted abroad, but Huawei was not defeated. Instead, it continued to research and develop and created its own Hongmeng system and EDA. This also made the restricting parties more fearful and angry, so they increased their restrictions on Huawei in 2020. This time, all technology companies are required to no longer provide Huawei with technology, foundry, etc. They are trying to completely collapse Huawei in this way. However, they did not expect that this restriction would still be fruitless. Huawei chose to use domestic companies to manufacture for itself, and also expanded its main business, including coal mining and electric vehicles, which are all Huawei's efforts to survive. Later, the United States imposed 2 more restrictions. In addition to not supplying Huawei 5G equipment, it even detained the daughter of Huawei President Ren Zhengfei. But Huawei is still not overwhelmed, and Huawei's leading position in the field of 5G technology can be seen from the constant restrictions. Huawei not only faces sanctions, but also faces an endless stream of domestic mobile phones. Nowadays, the performance of domestic mobile phones is getting better and better, and the price is getting cheaper and cheaper. Because Huawei is restricted everywhere, there is no way to fight a price war in the market, and there is no way to expand its own mobile phone technology. Many people are very worried about Huawei's future, but after the launch of the latest Mate 50 series, people found that such worries are unnecessary. Because the Huawei Mate 50 series sold out as soon as 4 million units were put on the shelves, in order to ensure market supply, Huawei said it would speed up production. Why is Huawei restricted and its sales have entered the ranks of others, but it can still achieve such results? What makes Huawei a benchmark? Huawei can achieve such achievements because it has a large and stable market which is recognized by the people and domestic manufacturers. Therefore, even if it is restricted, it can stand firm and even become a benchmark for domestic manufacturers. What is the charm of Huawei? First of all, the limitation that Huawei has experienced is its charm. You must know that Huawei's road to survival is difficult and bumpy. If it were any domestic manufacturer, it might go bankrupt under such high-intensity restrictions, but Huawei did not. Not only has Huawei not closed down, but it is still rising slowly, and it is leading the rise of domestic mobile phones. Such courage should become the leader and benchmark of domestic manufacturers. In addition, Huawei's position as the leader in the 5G industry is obvious to all. Although it has been continuously suppressed by the United States, Huawei, which has worked hard for 30 years, is not a weakling. They continue to invest in research and development every year. Although the sales are very considerable, in order to develop Huawei's survival at a negative profit, this also allows Huawei to have a huge number of patents. In the 5G field alone, Huawei has 3,147 patents. If you want to use these patents, you need to pay patent fees for Huawei or buy Huawei equipment. Huawei's 5G patented technology ranks first in the list of global patent applicants, reaching 14% of the world's total, while the United States is only 9.8%. It also makes the whole country proud of Huawei. Such achievements should indeed become a benchmark for domestic manufacturers, and Huawei's investment in R&D should also become a benchmark for domestic manufacturers. In the field of research and development, Huawei often maintains the first position in investment. In 2021, Huawei invested 142.7 billion yuan in research and development, which is also an important reason for his standing. By the end of 2021, Huawei has become one of the largest patent holders in the world, and they are still investing in research and development to pave the way for their future. The third reason why it has become a benchmark is that it will not be limited to its own field. Although it made its fortune in mobile phones and communications, it is also expanding in other fields after being sanctioned. At present, Huawei cars and Huawei cloud services have been well received. The achievements of Huawei cars are also recognized in the Chinese market. Huawei has never lived up to everyone's trust. Although it is restricted, they are actively developing chips that belong to China, so as to bypass the restrictions and find a new way out. Huawei has also become the largest investor in domestic semiconductor companies. Their investments have reached more than 60 companies, covering all major fields of the semiconductor industry. Huawei's goal is to make a completely domestic mobile phone. At present, their new mobile phone can reach 70% of the localization. In my opinion, Huawei's new mobile phone is still out of stock, and it is still a benchmark in China's electronics field. Under the constant intrusion of external forces, Huawei has not been defeated, but has continued to improve itself, leading domestic enterprises to go international, and leading domestic enterprises to embark on the road of independent research and development. With this approach and goal, Huawei is naturally the benchmark in the hearts of all domestic manufacturers. Do you think Huawei is worth it?